So number two on our list, our do not draft list for 2020, is another wide receiver, and this wide receiver is a repeat offender that I included on the 2019 do not draft list for Corner Sports, and that's Amari Cooper. And on the surface, it looks insane that a wide receiver that ranked in the top 10 in both standard and PPR scoring for 2019 would be on a do not draft list in the third round. His ADP is at 34 in PPR leagues. He's coming off a career year in both receiving yards and touchdowns, but I'm still putting him on the do not draft list for one simple reason, and that's consistency.
No, I totally agree. We've seen it time and time again where he'll give you like 200 yards and three touchdowns in the game. And then the next game, he'll give you three catches for 15 yards. Like, so the overall body of work is there. I might have been a little bit exaggerating with that 200 touchdowns and 200 yards and three touchdowns, but it's still there. The overall body of work reflects that he puts up good numbers for the course of a season, but you can't rely on him week to week because you just don't know what you're going to get. And now that offense is loaded. They added one of the top pass catchers in the draft, so there's going to be more fighting for targets. And so I'm with you there.
And let us not forget, because I know we're going to get some comments or feedback on, oh, well, you guys probably had him ranked in your corner sports list. Actually, he only made honorable mention on both. And the reason for that is, does anybody here agree that he's not a top 20 receiver?
No, I mean, he's going to finish in the ranking. I mean, he could easily repeat what he did in 2019, and he's still not a player I'm going to want on my team.
Exactly.
And that's because of the consistency.
Right.
Since he joined Dallas, I'll let you finish here in a second. Since he joined the Dallas Cowboys, he has had 3 different games that he has put up at least 180 yards.
Yeah, it's a big boom or big bust, especially considering where you're going to take him. So that being said, going back to what Christian said in the beginning of this list, this is not us saying, do not touch Amari Cooper. This is just saying, be logical, and if some Dumbo drafts him, in the third round, let that guy do it. That I think we're all on the same page there, where it's, I'm probably not going to stay all the way away from him, because when he booms, he booms.
Yeah, he has the ability to win a fantasy owner a week by himself.
And he also has the ability to lose fantasy owner a week.
That's exactly what was coming up next, is that for every game that he booms for 180, he's going to have 3 times that many games where he fails to reach 4 standard fantasy points. From week 11 on last year, Amari Cooper failed to reach 4 standard fantasy points. That's only 40 yards. He failed to reach 4.0 standard fantasy points in 4 out of the last 7 weeks, including a goose egg against the New England Patriots
that he was active for.
He wasn't hurt any of these games. It would be one thing if we're comparing him to Adam Thielen, where we see the second half of his season, we're like, you know what? He was hurt. You're looking at a guy completely healthy that put up a 0 in week 11 and had 4 receptions for 24 yards in a fantasy championship week 16 against the Eagles.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys. I did have him on one of my rosters last year, and just when you would get ready to be like this is how it worked out for me. When I'm playing the matchup with him, where I'm like, you know what, he's been letting me down, because it would never be, he'd have 2 back-to-back great games. It would be one, like Christian said, one great game, then crap, one good game, and of course, every time I was like, I can't do it this week, and I would knock him down, that's when he goes off. Very frustrating for fantasy owners everywhere, I'm sure.
And just an example from last year, this happened twice where he had a big game and then had a massive drop-off. Once last year, week 10, he had 11 catches for 147 yards and a touchdown. Week 11 the following week, 3 catches for 38 yards. And then before that, an even bigger example, even more extreme, week 5 against Green Bay, 11 catches, 226 yards and a touchdown. The following week at the New York Jets, 1 catch for 3 yards.
I mean, he finished with
consistency.
No, 0. He finished with 1,100 yards receiving. If you factor in just his 2 biggest games, that gives him over 25% of his production in 12% of his games.
You're so good at math. Like, you said that, and I was like, hold on, let me check that as if I could. But that makes perfect sense. I trust you.
So now you have Michael Gallup, who I think has been written off by everyone way too soon.
No way.
Because of the addition of CeeDee Lamb that they just drafted. So now you have Cooper. Now you have to feed an emerging Michael Gallup. And people say that first-round pick CeeDee Lamb is the most NFL ready wide receiver prospect in the 2020 draft. So now you have Dak Prescott, who threw for 4,900 yards last year, trying to feed all of these wide receivers. And while I think that Amari Cooper is going to get his share, I'm not saying that he's going to be a guy that gets 800 yards and 6 touchdowns and you're going to want to drop him by week 6. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that an ADP of 34 for Amari Cooper is way too rich for my taste at how boom or bust he is. I don't want him to lose me 3 straight weeks in between 200-yard games.
I want to be in a league with whoever is drafting like this. Because it's like, if you want to waste that pick, be my guest. And like you just said, not saying he's going to be bad, but no way he's worth the 34th pick.
No, the only way that I would draft Amari Cooper is in a situation where he falls into the late 4th, early 5th round, and I already have a team that has a very high floor. If in my first 2 rounds I drafted 2 3-down running backs that I know are going to be bell cow backs, and then in the 3rd round I come around with a top-end wide receiver, then that's when I'm going to look at Amari Cooper and say, you know what, I think I can survive the games that he doesn't produce or that he lays a goose egg. I can survive those because I already have 3 stars that I'm going to get high floors from.
Like, obviously, we spoke on it. He'll win the game, so lose the game sometimes. We want to mitigate the variables as much as possible to gain an advantage over our opponents, so that's why I'll be avoiding him that early.
If I have, I'll end the Amari Cooper topic with this. If I have a wide receiver that I know is going to score 50 points over a 5-week stretch, I would rather get 10 points per week than 40 on one week and a handful the other 4.
Yep.
Every time.